Okay, Ammy fans, how are we doing? Welcome to another episode of Dirty Old Podcast. A little Christmas special, although, Gav's got his Christmas background.
Nice in the background.
Danny's got his usual, he's got his glasses on, because he loves those glasses. And I'm not very Christmassy at all, apart from a beer. So, and actually, nothing in this pod features anything to do with Christmas other than the games on Boxing Day. So, yeah, it's not really a Christmas special, but time of the year, we're having a Christmas special, our first Christmas special podcast.
Could probably have a Christmas sing-along.
No, you can start. Oh, you can do it, Gav, if you want. We can put 30 seconds in here, no problem.
We'll save it at the end.
I've just spoken to the producer. Yeah, the producer said it's okay. Yeah. Okay, right. So I mean, we had the last podcast we did. We was previewing the Walsall game that never happened. So the only game we've played since last pod is Port Vale that we've just had midweek. So Papa John's, it's for a place to get into the quarterfinals against Cheltenham away. Obviously Port Vale being ex-League Two team, arguably to some, but certainly for me, probably the best team in the league last season. And they've got the mid-table in League One, so they're no muggy outfit. And going into the game, I thought that if we can win, perfect. If we didn't, I wasn't too bothered. The Papa John's, it's good if you get to Wembley. Anything other than that, it's irrelevant in some cases. But I wanted to see if we got beat, as long as there was a performance that we could take into Boxing Day. That's all I was looking for. So, Gav, I know you watched it on TV. Danny, you was at the game. I was at the game, but I'm not here to give opinions. I'm here to ask questions because my life's easier. So, guys, sum up. What was your thoughts about the? I mean, it was a good game to watch. I'm sure there'll be some people out there who said it was a bad performance, but I think going off how we played recently, I thought we was good. The first half was, for me, a bit 50-50. The second half, I thought we were the better team. I won't say by far. Not Port Vale had some chances, but we were the better team overall. What do you think?
You want to go, Gav?
One down.
On me. Okay. Yeah, it was great in many ways. I really enjoyed it, and because I rolled up and I looked at the team sheet and I thought, looks like a lot of bench type people come back from injury and stuff, and I thought, well, maybe Neil Wood's not bothered, a bit like we were saying before, that maybe the result doesn't matter, just get people to run out and things like that. But the way we played was really impressive, and I would say that I'll come to maybe some changes later on, but I do think the thing I was most excited about was the fact that Elliot Watt wasn't playing. That probably sounds like a really silly thing to say, but I don't remember a single game this season where he's not played. Even in the Papa John's, I think he's always kept him there as a bit of an anchor. And the fact he didn't play, I thought our tempo went through the roof passing. I thought we were able to, fire it around quicker in midfield. I'm not saying the other players in midfield are better than him. They're just different, and they allow us to play in a different way. So for me, it was refreshing to see what we can do without someone taking control and being like our main outlet, like Elliot Watt. I've got loads more to say, but that's my starting point anyway.
Gav, how did you see it from the looks of your sofa?
I was ill last week, and now we're having starting points.
Gav, it's
evolving. It's everything changes. It gets better. It gets bigger.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Starting points now. That's where we are. But no, it's a good point, that Danny. Well, I mean, we'll touch on it a little bit more in the pod. But Gav, how did you see the game?
Yes, so plain and simple, you can only play with a team which is in front of you. They got promoted last year. They've not done many changes since last year, as in they haven't brought many players in and out, gone in and out. And like you said, towards the end of the season, especially, they were one of the better teams. I don't think they were one of the best teams through all the season last year, but they were one of the better teams. They've kept the majority, but they have changed the player massively. They turned up as a League One team on Tuesday. and they played against a League Two team, obviously. And what I noticed more is we can say as much as we want about Smith, which was man of match for me, mainly because of his clearances on corners, not letting them have a chance. Every header he did, like I said, Smith for me was wonderful. And I've slated Smith so many times, but that game was perfect for him. And what the big thing for me was the way that Port Vale played. So they were, to a certain extent, playing 1-1-3-1-5, if that works out as 10, including the keeper. So they were pushing really forward. They were leaving loads of space. The most creative player, the number 10, the captain, was collecting the ball in the middle of the defensive area, so to have a defensive third. The keeper was coming out. The left back who used to be with us a few years ago, he was in the centre and they were pushing up. So there were spaces everywhere. They were playing as though they were playing a League One team. I think that backfired on them. So on saying that, our defence coped with everything they threw at us. I didn't think they looked so they was ever about to score. We could have played another 90 minutes. I don't think Port Vale would have scored. They weren't dangerous. Is that through to our defence or through to our tactics? It's a bit of both, I think. So I think their tactics helped us. When we play every 4-3-3, give or take, we might mix it about and say it's slightly different. And we've got space. We play well. The space helps us. If we was playing against a League Two team who would have been much tighter, much more defensive and compact, I think it would have been tougher for us. But I think the way they played helped us. But you've still got to defend them having forward good strikers in League One. They're in 12th position, I think. So they can obviously score goals and whatsoever. And we kept them out, and they didn't look dangerous. So that's my starting point, was how they played against us. And like I say, it's not take everything away from us, but I'm saying I think they made it easy for us.
Can I add to that, Gav? Just a quick one. Because it's something I noticed last year. They were the first team I felt when they came to our place last year to bully us. If you remember that game, they absolutely knocked the
second half of the season game.
Yeah, it was. And I just thought, right, so are we a bit suspect against physical teams? And just as a little side note to that, if you remember the way teams played against the start of this season, how many red cards were teams getting? There was one game earlier this season where there was two red cards in the same game against us. So I think that was a template that a lot of teams in our league watched last season, the Port Vale game at home, and thought we can bully Salford. Because I remember Ndaba went into his shell last in that game. A lot of our team retreated from that battle. But such a good point, I think, that you made. They gave us space. They played like they were playing against a team from their own league, and we don't operate like that. We play like a League Two team, and that space we capitalised on with McElhaney and people like that, and we played well.
Yeah, with your mention about bullying, I actually, again, they were playing League One football. They weren't playing League Two bully football to a certain extent. Apart from, was it the number 8 maybe who got booked and maybe a couple of rash challenges, they weren't really that dirty, that aggressive. And again, what you were saying about the space, and I mentioned before Matt Smith, who basically every corner, every free kick, he got his head on it. Yeah. But for me, you look at Matt Smith and you look fitness, 90 minutes. He actually got to the other end and had chances as well. So he's on the goal line one end and he's at the other end. So he was getting up and down. And like I said, I think the energy he put into that game was the most I've ever seen him put in it. That's why I give him man of the match, for not one corner or free kick got past his head. And he was at the other end as well. If he would have just done them headers but not had any chance at the other end, I would have gone, yeah, maybe we've got him on defending. But he wasn't. He was at both ends. So that impressed me about Matt Smith for that game.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to have experienced players. It doesn't matter what role, in terms of positions where they play, they have to lead by example. And like you say, Matt Smith, he defensively and attacking, you know what you get attacking. He wins every ball in the air anyway. The ball comes up to him. He's got 2 players trying to rip the shirt off him, and he still wins the ball somehow. And he gets very little protection from the referees. But defensively as well, Smith clears something for self. I mean, collective defensively, I've not quite seen a defensive performance like that this season, where it just seemed some players could have turned up on that night. I think, Papa John's. It doesn't mean anything really. It just looked like they all was really, really fired up for it. I mean, there was just throwing the bodies in front of the ball just to try and just trying to block everything that they can just to try and keep it out the net. There was a little bit of a scramble, and I thought it's going to go in because scrambles in past games usually mean we can see the goal, and we just managed to clear the lines. And there's a couple of players I want to mention because I thought we've mentioned them on the pod. I think we've criticised every player this season so far, but Galbraith for me, when Smith was announced as I can't argue with the man of the match, and he had chances as well to maybe get a hat trick. But Galbraith looked like he played a different game. You know, the sideways, backways passing was what you know. Obviously, there's a couple, but not the same amount that he plays in most games. It was just running with the ball. I mean, he was drawing fouls left, right, and centre. He was getting fouled all the time. He was running forward with the ball, and he just looked. He looked like he was trying to get us going. Where in past games, he's kind of maybe slowed it down, or he's just gone back and he's not turning with it. So I don't know what we thoughts on Galbraith.
There's more space in front of him. If it's a League Two game, to me, Galbraith is on the right, not in the middle. I've said this a few times. Yes, he looked good. I think it's more because there was space to pass it in. And you said you were surprised he wasn't man of match. For me, it was the other one we might have slated a little bit, and that was Leak. I honestly thought it was Smith or Leak was man of match, and Smith got the goal. So and he was in both boxes. So I think Smith just about peeped it from Leak.
I would give it to Lund. You know, call me silly, but the amount of running I saw Lund doing, he was kind of. I mean, I put it in my post on the message board that we were pressing like with 4 on each side. So we had kind of like McElhenney. Basically, the people down the right side were kind of shuffling them out to the wing. Same on the left, but the fifth player to join that press was always Lund. So he was going across the pitch. Didn't contribute a massive amount attacking wise, but if you saw just before he was subbed, he had nothing left. And I know he's not been starting any games, so his fitness maybe a bit down. But I thought he'd run himself to blood.
Yeah, I mean, he made a lot of run into the channels, didn't it? When he was, down that left-hand side, kind of waiting for Toure just to sort of the ball be put into channeling for Lund to run into, and then you'd have maybe McElhenney coming in to join, or maybe just waiting for Toure to catch up and maybe overlap, or just providing that support where Lund's going down the line and he has to turn back. When we look at the goal that we scored, it's a prime example.
Yeah.
But, ball's going into Lund. Lund's knocked it back to Toure. Toure's put it in the box first time, playing to strengths, and Smith's there. It's the only person he could have crossed that ball to. And, I can understand why they've shown that goal in so many different angles, because he's had to get power on that ball. It's a lofted cross into that ball, and to get power, to get it angled into that goal, because again, I thought the keeper should save it, but what he's done is the keeper's gone. He's not gone early, but he's knocked it into the ground. It's just bounced over the keeper. He just couldn't save it. It was a great goal. But Gav, funny you mentioned Leak. That was the other player I was going to mention, because we've kind of. He's had a bit of a hard time from fans in the stadium, from players, me. But do you know what impressed me? We've talked about this recently about ball playing defenders, and I thought, to be fair, he was absolutely fantastic. He's passing out from the back, down the lines into say, like a Lund or McElhenney or whoever was kind of hugging the halfway line when we was trying to break and get out from the back. He was finding passes, and he looked so composed on the ball. And obviously defensively, he was part of that back four, back five that kept a clean sheet. But he just looked really composed. And I think maybe it was probably a little bit harsh at the beginning of the season, where maybe he just everything was new to him. He play wasn't settled, and you don't know personally how well he's settled. If he's moved and how well he settles. Everybody's different, aren't they? So hopefully he's at a point where.
Do you remember his first game at Bolton away in whatever that was? That was one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In the first half, he made about 10 errors within the first 15 minutes, and it was. But yeah, there's been a bit of a transformation recently for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope it continues, because we need everybody if we want to try and get in the players in the season, we're going to need every single player to be pushing each other, and getting the best out of them. So, but yeah, it was. I think we can cap it there. It was a good performance.
Deserve to win, 100%.
Yeah. And do you know what? I thought when they had the draw before we played Port Vale and we got Cheltenham away, I thought, playing away is always difficult no matter where you play. But I thought, Cheltenham away. But then I didn't realise that actually Cheltenham were below Port Vale. So now that we've beat Port Vale, I'm thinking, Cheltenham's going to be a breeze, isn't it?
No, but yeah.
But on a Tuesday night.
Well, I know it's a bit of a trek on a Tuesday, that, isn't it? Somebody said to me, "You going to game?" I went, "Don't think so, no."
I was jumping in car with you, mine.
Well, you can jump in the car in my house. You can watch it on the TV. Danny, I know you wanted to, and we kind of briefly touched on what in the Port Vale review there, but I know you wanted to just talk about how differently we do play with or without him as well, and just before you go into it, I think you kind of alluded to the fact that actually we might play differently, but he's still a great player. When he plays, he does great things. He's actually been one of the best players or better players this season, as we've said many times. But I think I agree with you as well that his the performance of the team without him against Port Vale maybe allowed us to play a little bit differently.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I think a bit of yesterday, I've not seen much Championship football, and it will come back to Salford, but I actually just happened to notice that QPR and Burnley had taped it the other night from, and if you watch Burnley now, they're unrecognisable from what they were in the Premier League, which they were a very journeyman-filled team. A load of did have like a big man up front, pump it up, hard working. If you look at the way they've transformed now into an athletic, like hyper-fast team, really mobile, I think, and it's going to come back to Elliot Watt, that at the moment to get results, we need people like Elliot Watt, I believe. We need that stability. We need that daddy on the pitch to almost be the coach on the field. But I think if we look at our team in a season or two, I think we'll be seeing that we will become a very, very nippy, mobile team who can get up and down the fit pitch really quick. And that's something Elliot Watt cannot do.
It's an interesting point. I mean, do you need just looking at it from a different angle, do you need 11 players on the pitch to be minus the goalkeeper? Let's say minus the goalkeeper. Do you need the other 10 players, outfield players, to be able to do that, or can he just play the anchor? Can he just and then every around him? If he can pick up, if Watt can pick a pass, then does he need to be as mobile if everybody else around him is?
Yeah.
Are you saying he's not physically mobile, as in athletically, or just his style of play?
I think number one, his passing, although it's accurate, seems to be on the slow side. To actually reach the other side of the pitch, if he's switching play, to me, his switch of play is a bit slow, and it actually slows our attacks down compared to some other players that we've got in the team. So that's number one. And because I mentioned a podcast or two ago, he's physically a big unit. I'm sure he's got about 2% body fat. I'm sure he's fit as a butcher's dog, but he is not nimble and he's not quick across the ground. I mean, even just talking about our goal against this week, that run that Lund made that drew the markers away from Ibu for Ibu to get the cross in, I can't see Watt making that run and getting there in time, because I just don't see the mobility with him. At least I don't see it for 90 minutes, because I just don't think that body type can do that repeatedly across a season. Whereas, say what you like about Lund, he's not been brilliant for us, but he looks like a marathon runner. And so one thing he can do, even if it's the only thing he can do, is run.
I don't see Lund as a box-to-box sort of. I think what you mentioned about the goal on Tuesday where he ran, I think it was his experience which was different from what in that position. I think Watt could do exactly the same as what Lund did with the experience. Lund's 32, Watt's 22, let's say, give or take, etc. I think the experience made that run. I don't think it was his marathon running ability personally. But again, I don't see Lund as a box-to-box sort of. I see him as an attacking midfielder, definitely. I don't see him as a box-to-box defensive going into attack. But again, I'll watch that a lot more maybe when he's playing.
That's the fun of it. That's what opinions are about, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's just to throw it in the mix.
No, definitely. Like I say, it's. I think definitely the perfect you said that run he made, and that is 100% his experience, his games he's had. Like I say, he's 32. He's got grey hair and everything. He's probably about 82, probably.
The silver fox of Salford.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Because again, going to what we're talking about, and like I said, I looked because you meant Martin mentioned you about talking about London Watt. So I had a quick look at what they'd done, and like I say, Watt went through Liverpool's youth team, Blackburn to Preston to Wolves. He got thrown about a little bit in his younger years. Then at Wolves, he never played. Carlisle, he played 12 times, scored 1 goal. So it's basically only Bradford for the last 2 seasons where he's played, and he's played 78 games and got 5 goals.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's played 23 times to Scotland unders and scored 2. So his experience. So I think the biggest thing for me, which what needs to do this season, is not drop his current standard. I don't need him to get better this season. I don't need him to do much else. Is to get consistency, and then at the end of this season, use that experience and then develop himself a step further next season. I wouldn't be asking much more than that. Where a lot of players, you could say, you need to start running you need to start moving you need to start doing that. I don't think there's too much with what. I think it's more game time and experience. And again, with coaching like Neil Wood and his team, if they're elite coaches, because again, where they come from, the standard at Man United and Premier League, etc., the coaching will out what, but I don't want him to change too much of his game apart from get the experience.
Yeah, it's a fine line. You, like you say, you don't want to change too much. I think he's got a lot of qualities. We've said it, many times on this podcast. How, he's got a lot of leader qualities. Which again, you talk about, Danny. You see teams in the Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two. We've also been that where you have journeymen there. You've got a team of aging players. And yeah, you need experience on the pitch, but you also need that athleticism. And I think what's got, I know you're saying about is, maybe not as athletic as play, in terms of his play, but as a leader for a 22-year-old, he brings that. Maybe not experience, but he has those leadership qualities, which is something that's very important within a team. You need a team of leaders. Look at Manchester United of recent years. There hasn't really been any leaders in the team, and that's probably where they failed. And then you look at other teams, maybe like a Man City, where you've got a De Bruyne and you've got a Cancelo, and you've got all these big players who are all leaders and strong characters. And I think that's the difference as well. So, but he's our leading assister. He's got 5 assists, just in case you wanted to know. So he's obviously doing something right. He might not be scoring as many as he player hoped, but he's contributing. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when we'll touch on this in a bit anyway, but we've got obviously 3 games in 7 days coming up, and there's going to have to be, I would imagine there's going to be a little bit of rotation. We've got the midfield players to do it. There's going to be more game time for Lowe, McElhenney. And again, I just want to come through the next 3 games with no more injuries. I want McElhenney and Lowe to get more minutes under the belt and come through that unscathed, and hopefully keep bringing players back, which will then take us into January, where we can maybe strengthen up in 1 or 2 areas. And then we might have an actual platform to actually go and have a second half of the season where we can actually hopefully. So I'm not even looking at top 3. You put 10 games together, you might not be far away, but I think playoffs is going to be more realistic.
Just 7-word promotion, I think, is probably better. Covers it.
Yeah.
Just to get promoted, I think, is the aim, isn't it? Whether it's getting the playoffs or whether it's 3, 2, or 1. Yeah.
If we get to the final of the playoffs, is that a good season? Well, that's for another podcast. Let's get there first. Gav, I know you wanted to maybe sort of have a quick overview of the season so far. So, as this is your topic, I want you to lead with this one. What sum it up, Gav? How how's Salford City been this season so far?
Well, plain and simple, you know me. I sort of say it or I see it, game in, game out. So whoever our opposition is, and I'll pull certain things about Neil Wood and whatsoever. We all know we started off good 4-3-3, then we went in 5 at back and we fit in Eastham in and back, what have you. Don't really want to talk too much. What I want to say is realistically, because I have pounded Wood a little bit, only because I want us to win, only because I want to get promoted. My personal opinion, this first 6 months, I'm the fact sure he's doing a very good job. Plain and simple, he's doing a very good job. We're what, a couple of points off, we're four points off 4th place. We played 20, we won 9, drawn 4, lost 7. The lost 7, if we would have lost 1 or 2 less than that, which we could have, it's a fantastic start to the season. But the fact that he's got us close by Christmas, and every year I always say, as long as we're close by Christmas, going into January, as you mentioned, Mick, it only takes your team to have a run of 5 to 10 games, and you're up there. You're up near the top. So I wanted to add, but actually, although I maybe have slated lots of things, I actually think he's done a fantastic job because the facts said he do. So maybe because I was upset that there's 2 players in each wing getting the white boots whiter and white, so to say, and whatsoever, that's irrelevant. Because the facts say at Christmas, we're practically within touching distance of getting the playoffs. Yes, it's only halfway there, but that's all we can do. His win percentage at Salford's 42.9%. That's actually a decent win percentage for now. Boyer, when he was with us, his the first full season was 40.4. Richie Wellings was 36.7, but Graham Alexander was 48.2. So if in this second half of the season we can get that run, he'll be heading on to probably the 50, the 52, 53% win rate, which means we'll be in them playoffs, so we'll have our chance. Richie Wellings this season at Orient is on 61%, which they're at the top there flying. Is that about last? We don't know. But like I said, I wanted to just add that I think he's doing a fantastic job. We're about to start the new year, these next games, with a good chance of what we all want, and that's to be fighting for promotion. So sorry, Neil, about a few other podcasts and stuff like that. I'm in the Christmas spirit. I hope you're in the Christmas spirit and don't get too upset with me. We know he watches.
Yeah, he does.
So
watch.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to add. Like I said, it's actually I wanted to add a bit of positivity, but the facts actually show we're really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, first thing, yeah, evening, Neil. Yeah, I mean, I think we're all football fans. We all want our club to do well. We want the best of ours, and that's the beauty of fans. Unfortunately, you know, we're all at danger of getting emotional, sort of invested in football, aren't we? So we do these podcasts, and obviously we've kind of spoke about, you know, players like Toure, we spoke about Neil Wood and other players, and King, and you know, we've kind of had a dig at them, but I think we're entitled to. We're paying fans, and it's only an opinion, and I'm sure they don't really give a damn what we think. But
do they not? Oh, I'm going.
Yeah, what did you think this podcast was about, now? But no, I think you're right. I think, and I think now we've got to back him at second half of the season. Like you said on the last podcast, he's got to have this transfer window in January, and he's got to have another one in the summer. And then when he gets into Christmas, whether that's in League One, I mean, if he gets into League One, you know, you get him on another contract. But you know, if we remain in League Two, you give him his summer transfer window, and he's right. You know, if we're not in those playoff spots or top 3, whatever the target will be, if we're not in those top 3, top 7 places come Christmas, it's on the line, you know. And at least our owners then are sticking with the manager. But as they say, you know, yeah, you can give somebody the job and, you know, give them all the time they want. But eventually, when the results aren't going your way, you've got to make changes. So you can't just stick with a manager for the sake of sticking with them. So, I mean, Thomas Asante was our leading goal scorer.
Mentioning him again.
For many, yeah, he always gets. He watches. Brandon watches as well.
His mum does.
But we might get him back on loan. I don't know. Ryan Watson has scored 4 goals, equal to BTA. Again, our leading goal scorers in Ryan Watson, 4 goals. Not Ryan Watson. That's great. He's got 4 goals, but for the I would say that's probably the disappointing thing for the season so far, where we haven't really. It's nice to have goals coming from different areas, but it would also be nice to someone that when he gets a chance in the and this isn't Smith either. I'm just talking about anyone in general. Just to go and get some goals and take the reins and go, do you know what? I want to be the leading goal scorer. It doesn't seem to be anybody who really wants that title at Salford, and 4 goals at halfway through the season isn't, in my opinion, it's not. It's not. I
think
great,
pulling up last week where you were saying, who do we need in January stuff? I'm very sure I think we was the worst of this. I don't know we need anyone now. Bull crap. We need a striker and we need a right back cover. No discussion. That's what's coming. Plus more. The right back's got to cover because Law's about to get injured again, and probably Shepherd is in training, what have you. But we've got to cover them 2 for injury, and a striker who can score goals. No other discussion can be had about that.
Yeah. Well, I watched just before earlier today after finished work. I actually watched episode 10, which was the Bradford preview, and that was where Gav was saying that. He contextualised it, but he said that Henry is the worst number 9. But you remember that, and it was a really good episode. It was about 45 minutes. It was really, really good watch.
He still is the worst number 9 we've had.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. He's not the one you want in front of your formation. That's not where you want him. So I understand.
Hey, I tell you what, there's not another podcast out here that gets everything right like us, do we? We're pretty much running that team now. So yeah, we obviously touched on we've got 3 games coming up in the next 7 days. Boxing Day, next Thursday the 29th, and then New Year's Day. So Boxing Day, before we go into this game, I just want you all to know that you are looking at the person who will be competing at half-time to win £600. So, the half-time game to get the ball.
Oh, yeah. The problem is, I won't see the second half then.
Why? Because you'll be bladdered, won't you?
No, because I'm taking eggs to throw at you, you cunt.
You can stand behind me, and if it doesn't get, if it doesn't roll long enough, you can blow it up at line.
Right, this will be pints. Whoa, where's that ball going?
I'm not that bad of a shot. So that'll be a bit fun. And my plan was to get there and have a few pints, but I don't know whether to take it too seriously and not have a pint, or just I'm not going to do any worse by having a pint. So not made that decision yet. Anyway, enough about me. Barrow at home, Boxing Day. Little background. We've played them 6 times. We've been victorious 4 occasions. Barrow won once. We've drew once. I've got mixed thoughts on this. Just going off some of the stats, I could be wrong here. Apart from the Port Vale game, we haven't won at home in 8 games. Could be wrong, but I think that's right. Barrow have played 10 away, lost 6, won 3, drew 1. But their form of recent, I would say, a lot of those that draw and some of those losses in the last 5 games, it's been in the last 5 games. So they've kind of won their early on in the season away from home, but their away form's really sort of drifted out. So it could be one of them games. However, they have Ben Whitehead that's got 9 assists. He's the top assister in the league at the moment.
Is your sister?
My sister, yeah. Well, a sister. And then Josh Gordon, he's got 10 goals, and Billy Waters 7 goals. So again, you look at, we've got Ryan Watson on 4. They've got somebody on 10, somebody on 7. They've got some good players there that are picking up goals. And then, a couple of ex-Ammies there, Paddy Brough and Robbie Gotts. But tricky game. This will be a hard game because they're in the 5th?
3 points covers, are they?
Yeah. And it's 6. A game.
They're 6.
Well, look at this. Not to go too far ahead, we've got Barrow, Grimsby next week, and Bradford on New Year's Day. But Grimsby are not far behind us. And if you look at Barrow and Bradford, they're kind of right around us, and
2 and 3 points in front of us, aren't they?
We need. I would say Barrow and Bradford, 6 points would be really good, but I don't know whether you'd be happy taking 4. But anyway, let's look at the Barrow game first, guys. What do how do you see what? I mean, I know we're going to be biased. We're going to say, yeah, we're going to win, but realistically, what we're thinking, how the game's going to go on.
Go on, Dan.
And what changes, if any, from the Port Vale game?
That was the first thing I was going to say. How does he now look at it when some of his B teamers have come in, or some of his returning from fitness people have come in, done well, and he'll want to play again? You know, Nate wasn't playing the other night. I mean, I would imagine he'd be bringing him back in. So I think he's got some selection issues in that sense. But if he can get anything like the drive and the type of performance that he did this week on Boxing Day, isn't it? I think the game.
Yeah.
If he can get that again, you know, I mean, my highlight of the season this season was when McElhenney at the bar the other night. It was like one of the greatest things. I nearly punched the guy next to me. I was up there. It was amazing. So I don't know too much about Barrow themselves, apart from that they train. They're actually on De La Salle training fields in Salford, I believe. That's
he trains twice a week, in Salford.
Yeah, and I thought I got De La Salle looking in good shape. You know, I was walking past. I thought it was the De La Salle team, but it's obviously Barrow, and they're looking really good, Nick. But I said in the last pod, I think we're on a real upswing. It might not be completely unshakable, you know, and Barrow will try and disrupt it. They'll be watching the video, they'll be analysing what we're doing and what our tendencies are, and how we've adapted our game. But it just feels to me that what you were saying before about the togetherness, Martin, that the amount of blocks that we had defensively, it was like watching Mourinho's Chelsea at the peak. The amount of times he just shoved their, they were diving in front of the ball, and there must have been about 4 or 5 blocks. It seems incredible team spirit, which it could carry us a long way, as well as the things that I think Neil Wood's learned, because we've gone away from that stagnant passing it across the back. You'll notice the centre halves now don't seem to hold the ball at all. Leek was passing it to McElhenney straight away. It's out. It's gone. So I think we're moving the ball forward a lot better, a lot quicker, and we're a lot more dangerous. So I think we're going to do well.
Well, Gal, how do you see it? How in fact, I'll rephrase it. How are you going to see it on the day after several pints?
Not very well. Right, yeah. So the first thing I noticed, I was about to say something else. Oh yeah, first thing I noticed prior to coming on tonight was, got it down here. So it's actually, they've got quite a weird, I'll call it. It's not a weird, an unusual sort of stats, as in we're won, drawn, and lost. So they've actually won 11, but they've only drawn 1. So they've actually lost 9. So they've won a couple extra and they've lost a couple extra, so to say. Whereas we've drawn 4 and lost 7. So like I said, that stuck out to me, saying they're either all in or all out of it. But it's obviously about be a draw because they don't draw. That was my initial thought. It's about to be a boring draw because they don't draw. So it means they will, and they've got loads of goals. But other than that, like I said, that stuck out a lot. Like I said, they've had 1 draw all season. Sort of said it's one way or the other, so to say. The one, going back to what you first said about the team, is it about change? What's this? Because we've got 3 games close-ish and there's going to be changes, I think he'll keep the same team as Tuesday so that he doesn't have to change it straight away. Then he'll change the the Grimsby game. We'll have a few more changes. So that's my opinion on it. Is I think he'll keep the same team. Then the changes will happen against Grimsby.
Yeah, I think that makes sense rather than chopping and changing it more than you have to.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, going on your point there, Gav, about the kind of running through one game, is that then again, just out that stat that you've just thrown there, that says to me that if they go 1-0 up, they'll be buzzing, and going off that stat, you would favour them to win the game. If they go 1-0 down, that says to me that heads roll, they go and they don't want to know. So I think that to me says the first goal would make a difference on Boxing Day. I know football doesn't always work that, but that's how I would see it. But yeah, I knew about obviously the train. Obviously, I go to the gym in Wharton, so if you go in the afternoon there, they're always, well, most of them are in there. So I don't really like. I don't let on someone go, oh yeah, I
got the
feel
autographs
so,
every week.
So but I do listen out just to see if if they mention Salford anyway. I go, hey, best of that cheek. However, I did hear beginning of this week they were cutting corners in their training regime because they don't have any coaching staff watching them, or very rarely. They've got the programs to I'm grassing up the whole Barrow team here. It's great, and they'd done the workout, and it was in the change rooms, and I was getting changed, and one of the lads, I don't think he brought his shorts or something, so I think he'd done his workout, but then or something. Maybe didn't have his swim shorts, whatever. They had to go have a go for a swim or hydro pool, for a spa or whatever, just to sort of relax. And he didn't have his shorts, so his teammates went, well, nobody's gonna know. Just get a shower and just go home. I'm like, that'll do me. So playing on Salford, and you're cutting corners. Absolutely, we're there in the driving wind and rain training because we're going to be beating Barrow,
aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, so I think it's going to be a good game. A good stat there, Gav. Yeah, it would be interesting. I'm going to say there's probably be 2 changes max. I just think maybe, I don't know. You can maybe see Nate come back in, but then again, we've kept 3 clean sheets in the last 3 games, and obviously, going off the last game, the way they defended collectively, it's difficult, isn't it? Don't never change a winning side, I suppose. But anyway, that's Barrow. We've got. I'm not going through as much detail here with Grimsby, but obviously midweek.
What do you think scores about Barrow?
See how I skip past that very quickly.
I think you can toss a coin because there's not been much football. So I think this is the biggest guess we've ever made, because both teams haven't played a lot of football in the last few weeks, or no team has really. Although Barrow actually played last week, their pitch was on, and they're in the coldest part of bloody the northwest. So
they got beat, didn't they? They got beat 1-0.
Swindon. Yeah, those are on. So maybe they have had a bit more football than us. But yeah, go on.
Sorry, Gav. No, go on.
I forgot what I was about to say.
Well, I'll quickly jump in then just to keep this podcast flowing. You could argue then that that's probably done them no favours, because they're coming into this game on the back of a defeat. They know they're coming into a busy period, because Christmas period is always busy. Like we say, 3 games, 7 days. And if they only pick up, maybe 4 points in that game, you would say like in that four games over the Christmas period, they've only got 4 points. It would be pretty bad for them. So, and we're coming in the back of Port Vale, and usually I do my score prediction last, but I'm going in first this time. So I'm going to say 2-0. Stuff it. It's 2-0.
Before you go, sorry, Daniel, I'll give you another one as well. So the reason that Barrow train in Salford, what have you, is because all the players are based in the northwest. Most of the players are local northwest players. Yeah. So there's probably a chance that they've got a lot of family members as well. So they might actually up the game because they've got a lot to give in that game as well, maybe. So that could have a little bit of bit more enthusiasm for them, a bit more. I get beat last week. All my family's here this week. Got to put a good performance in.
No, it makes sense.
No,
I think that's a stupid point, Gav. Don't talk silly.
Because you've already done yours.
Go on, chaps. What's your score prediction? No, we're 2-0.
I think 2-0 as well. Though I know on these formats people don't want to copy themselves, but I don't want to go any other than 2-0. I think 2-0 seems comfy to me. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
I cannot believe he's just done that.
Gav's going 4-0.
2-0.
2-0. There we go. Well, what was that?
I'm joking. I'm not doing 2-0.
Oh, come on. You can't change it now.
2-1.
Ooh. To Barrow?
Yes, to Salford.
Good predictions. Can't believe you got us down to concede, though. That's pretty bad form, that, Gav, but never mind.
I'm not bothered about conceding as long as we score one more than them.
I like it, yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
Vindaloo, isn't it? We'll score one more than you. Anyway, not singing.
I was thinking more Busby and all them.
Well, yeah, we could do a few Busbys, couldn't we? Neil Wood's our Busby anyway.
Neil, do you not know his middle name's Busby? Neil Busby Wood.
Not taking you on, Gav.
No, I think it's Anthony.
Anyway, the Thursday after Boxing Day, 29th of December, we've got Grimsby away. Now, we drew them on the 1st of October, 1-1. Waiting the lead, I think it was it Vassell that scored? And other than that goal, if I remember rightly, we wasn't in the game at all. I think Grimsby were surprisingly better than what I thought they was going to be. I remember watching that game, kind of we were just kind of outmuscled, outplayed. We've kind of actually we did well to get a point out of the game, in my opinion. However, they're sitting in 15th, so then, that being said, they might be physical and they might have played well on that day, but their position in the table doesn't lie. And obviously, they are 15th, but there's not a lot in it. I think, Gav, you mentioned about how close, from fourth we are, and same the other side of where we are in the table. There's teams below us that are only a point, 2 points, 3 points behind us. So 1 or 2 games by sort of 5 o'clock on New Year's Day, we're going to really see there's going to be a big change in the league from bottom to top and everywhere in between.
Grimsby's just like a jumbo jet.
Is it?
7-6-7. Won 7, drew 6, lost 7.
Oh, just keep rolling. I told you it was a Christmas special. I'm not going to go into players and stats of what we played, but I mean, I would say away from home, away or not, if we want to be getting playoffs second half of the season, it's a must-win game, that 15th Grimsby. I don't care if they're in good form or not, really. I think we should be beating teams like Grimsby, especially, no disrespect to them as well, that they've come up from the National League and the 15th is probably very good. They'll probably, I'm sure they'd love to be higher, but you can't argue with that. 15th, you come up from the National League, you're sitting in 15th, probably only about 4, 5, maybe 6 points off playoffs. They could be 15th, could be 7th, after New Year's Day.
Yeah, I think Grimsby went down a really poor team. They were a shocking team, being Grimsby, when they went down. Then they come straight back up. And the start of the season, I think they started quite poor. So actually being in having 27 points, I think it's actually a really good position. I think they're better than what you think they are. Yeah. Because I'm sure until they beat us, they've then started having a bit of a run and got some form together and whatsoever. So yeah, I'm worried a little bit about Grimsby. It's on a Thursday night, 7:45. Freeze your knackers off over on the east. It's got 0-0 written all over it.
Go straight to the prediction.
Straight in.
Dan, have you got any points you want to raise for Grimsby, or is it fairly straightforward?
I've got one later on I'd like to talk about in terms of the players having an influence on maybe the overall tactics. But as for this game, no, I actually reread the Grimsby message board from that point to see what people had thought of the game and stuff. And it's like you said, it was a tight one. And we've changed a lot, I think, since then. So in that respect, it's up for grabs. It could be drab. It could be exciting. We could have a load of momentum. It could drift away if we change too many people and rotate too much. It's hard to call it for me.
I mean, I'm always going to say we're going to win. Well, I don't, to be fair, but I think we'll win 1-0. To be honest, I don't. Away from home, on the coast, it's not the coast, is it? Or is it?
Yeah, close-ish, yeah, give it
close-ish, yeah. Yeah, of course, because they do all the fishing and stuff, don't they? Yeah, but
they go fishing and stuff. It's got to be on the coast.
Love you, Grimsby, really do, yeah. So going towards the coast, it's, I don't know, it might be cold, might not be, but yeah, it's.
It will be freezing.
1-0, I take that away from home. So we'll have 6 points out the 2 games going into Bradford, and we'll smash them as well. So yeah.
What score are you going for, Dan?
Probably 0-0. I'm playing
it copying again. You're going first on the next one.
Copying a different person, but yeah, copying.
There's a pattern emerging here, Danny. When it comes to predictions, it's there's a phrase there, sitting on the fence. No,
I know.
I suppose the exciting one is, I mean, obviously, like I said, we've got Boxing Day, but then we've got another away game on New Year's Day, Bradford, which when Bradford came to our place, I was really up for that game because I thought these are the games you want. You want to play teams like Bradford, ex-Premier League teams who've got a good following, and we got beat at home, 1-0.
It was an awful game, that terrible.
They were excellent.
Yeah, we were awful though. But yeah.
Well, I didn't really want to touch on the game at home because I still have nightmares of how bad it was. However, you've got the top leading, you got the league goal scorer Andy Cook.
Said that last time when he scored.
Yeah,
Thanks,
well,
Martin.
mate, every time I mention a player or someone to watch, he always scores.
Yeah, so don't do it.
Yeah, that's what Anthony said.
But well, that's why Grimsby won't score because I've not mentioned any players.
Next time you see him, kick him, yeah.
See, I could be a scout, couldn't I? Really, you want to watch that player? So they're, correct me if I'm wrong. They're Bradford are in 8th at the moment, 2 points ahead of us. Again, 2 points. We can get that when we can take that 2 points back off of them on the day. But like I say, there's 2 games before that where it could all change as well. But however, we did beat Bradford in the previous round of the Papa John's 1-0.
Yeah.
So it again, not looking back, not done my due diligence there, but I'm sure they would have made a couple of changes. We made a couple of changes because it's the Papa John's, but you can only beat what's in front of you, so it's no excuses. So they beat us 1-0 this season. We beat them 1-0 this season. It's going to be very tricky playing at Bradford City, away. But again, I think like your point, Danny. We've played these
too
teams
much, Martin. You're giving him loads of ammo for he's sitting on his fence. So let Dan take it from here. You're feeding him all this ammo. He's maybe yeah. Thanks, Martin. So this one's definitely a 1-0.
The only thing I was going to say was,
be careful how much
to Danny's point that he made about 5 minutes ago was, we probably are a different team now. I know we can say that because that's wishful thinking, but we have got players coming back. I think we genuinely were unlucky in the kind of the first 10 games of the season with the amount of injuries that we had, and I'll be happy with it. That's why I say Barrow and Bradford. Would you take 4 points? Because I think I would personally. Promotional rivals in Barrow and Bradford. You're taking 3 points off Barrow, a point away at Bradford, because they'll be disappointed if they don't get 3 points. We'll be laughing all the way back down the M62. So, yeah, Bradford, what a game! Looking forward to it.
Again, I'm not going to sit on the fence for it. I mean, it's a little bit of time away. I hope between now and then that our confidence doesn't take a dip, because I think recently my theory, and I think Anthony was saying the same, that even in the Carlisle game when we got beat 4-1, you could see that we were getting better, and since then we've got progressively better and better and better in the last few games, and when you win those games as well, or at least you don't concede, then you keep your confidence, you can build momentum. And I think if we can go into that Bradford game and we've not been beat in the meantime, then we could at least win, whether they get a goal back, a 2-1 like Gavin was saying before, or a 1-0. I think it will be close again. But I think keeping the confidence we've got now is absolutely key, because confidence is belief, and that's what's going to tie it all together, I think.
So what's your score, Dan? Sorry, Martin, I'm doing your job.
What 1-0 Salford? If we can keep a good run going, otherwise we could potentially lose by the same score. So I'll give you 2.
Just for different scenarios, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having 2 scenarios then.
All right. Have a starting point, Gav.
This one is one of the ones which worries me. Big ground, big crowd. Is it New Year's Day, 2nd of January, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's afternoon kick-off, better than the evening, but it worries me. They're a good team. When we've been to Bradford before, they've dominated, especially in the first half. If they can get an early goal, I think we could get battered 3-0. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I like it.
So I'm going for, we need a very, very, very mature performance. I think we're about to have to fight for everything. I think it's going to be a bit of nitty-gritty. I can see quite a few yellow cards. And I think we've got to fight for a 2-1 win. That's my hope and my expectation. A fighting 2-1 win. It's not going to be easy. So even if they went 1-0 ahead in the second half, if they go 1-0 in the first half, then I'm worried. If they go 1-0 in the second half, I still think we can turn it around. But it's one of them. I think we've got to definitely not underestimate Bradford at any level. Like I say, I think they could destroy us on that day, however good we are, because I think they can turn it on at their own ground. It's a big pitch. They're used to playing on their pitch. And when you hear their fans roar, that's a roar. It's the biggest roar I have obviously heard in the League Two football. That is some backing they've got when the fans are on their side.
Yeah.
So 2-1, I'm going for to Salford again. But like I say, it's going to be a battle, I reckon.
I mean, it's I kind of lost where I was going with that. To be fair, I suppose the way I see it is, we've had
either way.
we've had good battles with Bradford, but I think if we was doing this podcast in between the Grimsby and Bradford game, we'd know where we were. And I think that I suppose the point I'm trying to make is, it's like anything in especially in football, confidence is a big thing, in terms of, look at Arsenal, the Invincibles, could they have got beat that season? Was they really that good? They was really that good, but they could have lost a game at some point in that season quite easily. But that momentum of confidence, just going into the next game, going, nobody can touch us. We're winning, or getting a draw there, but we'll win the next game. And I think if we can not lose, and we can get, if we can get 6 points out of Barrow and Grimsby, we're going to Bradford, and equally Bradford will be concerned about us rather than us just thinking about Bradford. But if we only get like 1 point out of those two games and flip it completely around, I think, Gav, you could, I think you're right. I think we could be going into that game a little bit deflated, and then going up against a Bradford team at their own ground with 15,000, 16,000 fans, whatever they get. I don't know what they get.
17 and a half that day, I think.
And
doing attendance guesses though.
They might do that, yeah. See who gets closest to do it on TalkSport, don't they? So I'm going to go for I'll go for a 1-1 draw, because like I said, I'd be happy with 4 points out the Barrow and Bradford game. So yeah, that's the games. Danny, I know you wanted to touch on something. I think we're just kind of coming up to that. We've been on it for about an hour, so there's nowhere near that 40-minute mark, Gav. But go on, Danny. You wanted to just bring something up.
All it was is that, I mean, I put a post on the message board a week or so ago, and it was about, I even put a poll on there to say to general fans that, do they think that Neil Wood has created this new tactical strategy that we've got at the minute? Is it wholly of his making, or have the owners influenced it? And there was a bit, bit of to and fro about people thinking, is it Neil Wood's idea? Is it not? Because the ex-players have obviously had their opinion of what he should be doing, because we weren't playing very well, and now we're playing better. So something's changed. But something occurred to me that potentially he might now be listening to the players more. Because I'm thinking about his background. He was a development coach at under 23 level at United. So he's used to telling the players, stand there, do this, walk there, run there, eat this, dictating what people do. So the idea that he's now dealing with, like, he's got experienced professionals, he's got people like, Jason Lowe who've seen it all, Matty Lund, and maybe I think potentially, I have no insight, I've not been in the gym with them, unlike some.
You're not Martin, are you not?
I've not overheard anything, through the toilet door or anything. But
and even if you had, you were under grass.
No, mum's the word. But it just occurred to me that maybe now, maybe they just knocked on his door. Maybe Theo said, "Listen, boss, I can't really pass. I can't do what you're asking me to do. I look like a fool. When you want me to hit like 30-yard accurate passes to people, I can't do it. I haven't got the technique to do it. Leak potentially maybe showing he's got a bit more. Eastham, I don't think he does. So the way we're playing now potentially could have some input from the players. And I heard a podcast of Richie Wellens the other day, and he was saying that he has his players doing a lot of creative problem solving in training. So rather than him telling them how to play against a 4-3-3, in one session he'll say, figure it out. You show me what you're going to do. So I'm just wondering now if he's giving them a bit more leeway to get them more engaged by saying, how should we play? How can we best get, say, you, Theo? How do you want to play? What kind of outball do you want? How deep do you want the strikers to come to be available? And it's just a thought. I've got no backup of if it's true or not, but I know managers do allow this kind of input. And maybe because he's gone from having a team with quality players like Nate and Shep, few have got injured, and then he's not had the quality to be able to allow that freedom. And as Gav said in the episode 10 that I just heard before, he was saying that Neil Wood then became very structured, and that's true. I think he was basically telling people exactly what to do when he had to bring people off the bench. You know, Ethan, you're at right back, you stand here, you do the other. And now he's getting back to a full team again. I think he's giving some more freedom and saying, what do you guys want to do? And it does to me like the players are enjoying themselves more than they were, obviously in the bad run, but there seems to be more harmony and chemistry amongst the players. Just a thought.
2 points. What you were talking about, obviously players with experience. Neil Wood's come from. Neil Wood, basically, his career is 17s to 23s at Man United. Neil Wood actually didn't play many Football League games. Although he came through the United Academy, I think he's played less than 50 league games. I might be wrong there, but I'm sure he's actually played less than 50 to 100 Football League games. Definitely hasn't played many Premiership games. He hasn't played any. But even he got loaned out a couple of times, I think, and played a few. But I don't actually think he's got experience of actually playing football a lot. Whether that's due to injuries and stuff like that, I've not looked into it. Neil, just give us a shout after, let me know. So like you say, using the experience of the players, like you just said there, and them going and having a chat, that sounds very plausible. Because if he's looking at himself and saying, the good things about myself is that I'm a great tactician. I've done all the training books, done all the badges. I've gone 17s, 18s, 20, 21, 23 at Man United. What haven't I got? Well, I haven't got the experience necessarily as a player, what have you. So what input can you give me? So maybe that is very plausible. I would definitely think. So yeah, I think that's a good spot. The other one is I'm not sure where, I think you guys said it last week, where you've got that he's reinvented the wheel. Or he's changed things. He's got us playing different ways. All we've done is gone back to how we were playing in August, in my opinion, and not as good yet. We're getting there. Maybe it is the players who have said, oh, boss, we was doing this in August. This is how we like to play. And they've encouraged him to do that. But I don't think we're doing much different than August, apart from who's on the pitch. But position-wise and tactically-wise, I think we're just doing August, but a little, not quite as good yet. Maybe because we've got different players like Asante, obviously was very fit. McElhaney hasn't been fit, so McElhaney might fill the Asante, as in the running past the defenders, the willingness just to leg it, so to say. But yeah, that's where it is for me. But again, with you saying about the players knocking on his door, what have you, maybe it's them who have come to him and said, boss, because something has changed, like you're saying, you've noticed it, and I think I've said prior when I've not been nasty, but been a bit critical and said, oh, bloody hell, his tactician, his books, his coaching badges, his training kids and whatsoever is unbelievable. It's his experience which worries myself. Yeah. And if he's using the players, to be honest, I wouldn't use Nicky Butt's experience. I wouldn't use Gary Neville's experience. I wouldn't use who's the other one? Giggs, maybe a little bit. They were in a unique time in their life under Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United. Gary Neville would not have got into any other Premier League football club. He wasn't good enough. He did a job for Fergie. Ryan Giggs would have got into any Premier League club. And Nicky Butt, they just let him go to Newcastle. Yes, they had exceptional careers, but it doesn't say to me that they've got experience of, oh, we know how to run a Football League club. Let Neil Wood, his coaching staff and the players run what's happening. Them putting their 2 pence in, yes, when they get in the Premier League, maybe. Yes, in the Championship. But at this level, they haven't. Gary Neville hasn't got experience at this level. He's got 3 bad years, so it shows, so to say. And if the players are doing what you just said, that's a definite plus. We're up there. Second half of the season, the players are buying into what's happening. We're getting promoted. Full stop.
Yeah, I hope so.
Just to come up, just to throw.
Sorry,
10p. Sorry, just to throw 10p in the meter. I think you're right. I think when Neil Wood was appointed as manager, that the main concern throughout the fans was the inexperience at working at senior level, and no doubt he came into the job full of confidence. He would have truly believed he was the man for the job. He's going to back himself. He knows what he can do with the team. He knows maybe some players that he can bring in. But one thing he didn't have was the experience at senior level, and he played. Because he came in that confident mood, because he's done as success within the 23s at United, play came in with a little bit of naivety as well. He's coming in thinking it's going to be easier. I'm not saying exactly that that's what he was coming in, but play came in a little bit naive, and I think, all right, contradicting myself a little bit as your point, Gav. The first 6 games we looked like it was the best football we've played in a long time. So very quickly, all those inexperienced, conversations were quickly erased, because playing the best football we've ever watched in the last 7 or 8 years. But then I think that could have just been that. Sometimes when you bring a new manager, and you get that little bounce back, don't you? Where you get a little bit of a bounce. Everybody's on a high. It's a clean slate for everybody. Everybody's working hard to try and get into the manager's team. And then I think he was a little bit found out. Not found out because he wasn't good enough, just because he didn't know how to manage senior players. Straight away he's thinking, well, he's never had players at that age where he's had to deal with. But then he's thinking, right, how do I integrate him? Well, he's a club captain, and Easton's an example. But other players, and I think now. One thing he said he would always do was, one of his key strengths was being adaptable. And actually, every time when we've questioned something or when we give our opinion, it's not just that. This is why, because we know Neil Wood watches, he does make changes. And I think, and this is why, to your point, Gav, this is why we need to keep hold of Neil Wood, and we need to back him, because you know what, he isn't. And no disrespect to Gary Paul, he had some good times at Salford, in terms of the last 10 games when he got us touching distance of playoffs and things. But he's got his ways now, and he's never going to adapt from his ways, because he's got the experience. He's managed at that level for a long period of time. He knows in his head what works, what doesn't. He's got his philosophy. He's not going to change. But someone like Neil Wood, he's coming in his first senior thing. He's evolving, adapting. Play on a weekly basis. He's always evaluating. He's played the most hungriest coach out there right now, who has got experience at a very, very good club in Manchester United. And probably, I would say we've got somebody that's up and coming that could potentially be a very good manager in the next 10 years. Where I'm not going to say Premier League and really go that far, but certainly play managing at higher levels, in Championship. And hopefully, Championship, and maybe get a club up into Premier League. That's where I would see him, and I hope does it with us. But it's good. It's good that he's adapting. I think it's good for us.
When you mentioned August, and you said we were flying because maybe players were on a high, we was manager buzzing, what have you. Maybe, just maybe. I'm not about to say this as a fact. I'll say it as a maybe. He was practically appointed behind closed doors in April. So I think he's seen our last 6 games. So I think he's actually had all summer to see what was happening at the club and what have you. And that's what disappoints me a little bit, where he got stuck. And towards the end of last season, was Eastham still injured and not playing and whatsoever? So we've seen this team, and what's happened is Eastham's got fit again, and one or two other, and he's changed the team because the club captain, the player who's probably on more money than a lot of the others is there, and maybe it's the pressure of him not being in that position before to say, oh, I've got to get him back in the team. He must be good. Well, Eastham's has had a good career. Eastham is, on career-wise, is a good player. He's not done it for us for whatever reason. I don't know, but he's not done it for us. So don't put him back in the team just because he's XXX. And I think that was the issue with me from September, was he made decisions through lack of experience. But now, if he's making decisions with the help of the players of experience, he could turn out to be manager of the year in this league. We could go on an unbeaten run. We could do that because he's got everything there. It's just that experience. If he fills that void with help from, let's say, you were saying even the younger ones like Vassell, you mentioned, Dan, about saying he's knocking on the door, what have you, because Vassell looks like he's a football lad. He looks like he lives it. It's on his shirt. He probably goes home and has a bath in his Salford shirt. That's the type of player Vassell does. Whereas some of them, like Henderson last year, took his Salford stuff off, threw it on the floor. Cheers, lads, thanks. Good goal today, because he even scored. He'd gone home and he forgot about Salford. He's gone home and gone to his wife and kids, what have you. Fair play to a player, not disrespecting him. But Vassell's one of them, I think, who wears the club's badge on his top every day of the week. And to use them to help fill the void of the experience. And I would even say Jason Lowe a lot as well, because he's been in League One. He was been in Championship actually as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, Blackburn Rovers and Bolton.
So Blackburn, Bolton and whatsoever. So there's a few players who, if he can fill that void with, but if he starts filling that void with Nicky Butt, with Neville and whoever, then I'm Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes, one of the best midfielders ever in the world. I don't think you touch me with a badge, Paul, as a coach and a manager. I'm sorry, Paul, but I'm getting this. I'm getting barred from this cast because I'm not allowed to be. But that's my honest opinion. And Paul Scholes, some of the most memorable goals I've ever seen. Like I said, I used to watch Man United as a kid. One of the legends. Like I say, him and Giggs are the two. Like I say, and Keane obviously as well. It's like, I was like, amazing. Gary Neville, he did a good job. I'm not saying he was rubbish. He did a fantastic job for Fergie. But apart from United, no one else would have had him.
Yeah.
Full stop. Phil Neville, from being 12-year-old up until 40, was a better football player than Gary Neville. Gary Neville played on the right, slightly taller. He got the chance. Plain and simple. Phil was a better football player, but he didn't get the opportunity at United as much.
The only thing Gary Neville's got on Phil Neville is a one-club man. Phil Neville never was.
No, exactly like I said. And like I said, all of them, I've got so much respect, but I'm saying you're not League Two coaches, you're not League Two managers. No. And yes, you've had experience, you've been to 4 Champions League finals. League Two isn't about going to a Champions League final. League Two is letting your manager, your coaching staff and your players get it together. And if you can pass your manager some videos and say, look at these sort of points, but let's hope that they don't try to push coaching thoughts, methods and styles onto him, because then it will go backwards, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It comes back to that point. Let him evolve. Let him learn.
And then I can get myself
make mistakes to learn from as well.
That's all I want. Myself with Neil Wood once we got promoted.
He might like you now. I mean, he did text me.
He might do by then, because I'm about to say a lot of nice things over this. If I'm allowed back on, sorry, Gary.
Yeah, you put it on a bit fit, but he did text me. He said, "When's the next pod? I've missed it. I've missed. When's that Gavin coming on? Because I'm starting to like him. He's nice under the surface." I went, "Yeah, he's all right. He's not bad."
I'm trying to be him, but he's still there.
Right, chaps. It's been a great podcast. I think we'll cut it there, because I think we have gone far too long on this one. We wanted to do 40 minutes, and I think we've done about an hour and 15. Great. So, guys, thanks very much for coming on. Got some good points, good talking points. I'm sure it'd be a good listen for the fans as well. For the fans, hope you have a good Christmas and New Year. If you go into the games, hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as we do if we win. And if you go into the away games, be safe, travel with care, and let's hope for some points. Oh, anyway, it is Gav with one more point. What's up, Gav?
Good luck on Boxing Day.
Good luck in Boxing Day. Oh yeah. I'll buy you a pint if I win. So if you can get somebody on there to rig it a little bit.
We'll try.
Club's watching this now, going, "No, we're just cancelling. Don't put him on now." Chaps, thank you very much.
Have a good Christmas as well, guys.
Yeah, if I don't see you, have a good Christmas. I'm actually you, Danny, because you're in the same stand as me.
Oh,
I did. In side note, I did see the Port Vale game.
Christmas, don't you?
Sorry.
You see him after Christmas, so you can wish him Merry Christmas now, surely.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Yeah, have a good one.
Feliz Navidad.
Gav picking up on the small points again.
Oh, come on, mate. You've got to look after Dan. Rosie's not here.
No,
make sure
he's
he
not
comes back.
He's not committed, is he, Rousey?
Rosie's not here for 3 weeks. He goes on holiday next week for 2 weeks.
And he's got off lightly this time, because when you didn't come on the other week, we was bashing you a little bit, and Rousey's got away with it, hasn't he? So we'll have to bash him next time. Right, cheers, chaps. Have a good Christmas. See you on Boxing Day, hopefully. All the best.
Bye,
Take care, chaps. Bye bye.
Bye.